What's going on, guys? Tim Plague here, and there have been a lot of season finales recently on comic book shows. The ones I'm speaking of in order of air date or airing. We have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Legends of Tomorrow, Gotham, Flash, and Arrow. And this video is going to be a review. Um, I'm going to go in depth for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, the finale for that. And after, I'm just going to give my overall thoughts on the other finales. But I will do in depth videos for those finales later. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been, since the mid season premiere, after the break, we saw that someone was going to die in space on a Quinjet. And these two episodes were basically the lead up to that. Actually, you can say the lead up was since the mid season premiere, but they basically have been driving it home in the last two episodes, with Daisy being part of Hive, basically, after she was swayed by him. But these episodes, I mean, I really love. Like I've said before, currently, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is my favorite comic book show on TV. And these two episodes solidified that for me. Now, the order of my favorite shows actually has changed. I'll get into that later. But in these two episodes, it starts off, Daisy has a dream where her and Coulson seem to be in a containment unit on the moon or somewhere. And she's messing with the wires. She's wearing the cross, Yo-Yo's cross, and she makes the statement that she knew someone was going to go. She just didn't think everyone would. Which, since this happened at the first scene, it was kind of obvious that it wasn't real. Coulson's with her, talking about how she's a survivor and she always finds a way to survive. And then she wakes up. Now, obviously, Daisy has been under Hive's control, so she's been doing things, and she's basically hurt pretty much everyone on the team. She's hurt Fitz, although it's kind of strange when she was using her powers to choke him and telling him to stay away because she didn't want him to die. Then she almost killed Mac after he destroyed the Kree. And obviously, because of her escape from the base, Coulson had a broken leg. So we see that on a Quinjet, there is Lincoln, Yo-Yo, Mac, and May. May's piloting, and Lincoln hands Mac the two kill switches for his and Yo-Yo's vest, Lincoln and Yo-Yo's vest, basically saying that if they become under Hive's control, Mac will press the button and they can be killed. Something they agreed to. They don't want to be under Hive's control. And we see that Hive, Guerra, the guy who, has the telekinetics, and James, or Hellfire, are there with Dr. Randolph and some other of the primitive Inhumans, and they've taken over a missile silo base. And basically, they're going to launch a missile to disperse the substance that will turn the majority of the population into Inhumans that will be under Hive's control. Basically, it's a race. Lincoln and May have to have an uplink to the missile silo, and Coulson has to get the actual kill codes for the missile, and Fitz has to input them. So it's a success, and the missile stopped launch. It has been prevented from being launched. Now, basically, Daisy is not feeling great. She's going through withdrawal, basically. The previous episodes have explained that it's like a drug. The when an inhuman is under Hive's control, and she's no longer under his control, so she's going through withdrawal symptoms. She's not feeling well. She feels very guilty because she's hurt people and she's killed people, and she almost killed Mac. And so she has a conversation with Coulson, and Coulson's telling her that her confinement is only temporary. He knows that she's doing whatever she can to remember anything that could help. But she says that, it should be permanent. It shouldn't be temporary. She deserves to feel the way she does. She doesn't deserve to have anyone's forgiveness or pity because, she hurt her friends and, she couldn't stop herself. But basically, she mentions the memory machine that was introduced in the first season. Coulson was put into it. Helped him remember what happened to him after he died. And Sky was saying, I know you pulled it out of storage. You should use it on me. Coulson said, we did pull it out of storage, but not for you. So, cut back to the base and the infiltration. Everyone basically splits up. May goes to get the warhead. Mac and Yo-Yo are tinkering with something in the hallway, saying that, it's for Hive, basically. And then Hive basically knows where Lincoln is due to the internal cameras in the base. They have a talk, and he's saying how Daisy loved him, or at least thought she did, him being Lincoln. Hive saying this to Lincoln, and how Lincoln would never be able to make Daisy feel the way he did because, he made her feel happy, made her feel like she belonged somewhere. Lincoln runs away and goes down the same hall where Mac and Yo-Yo is. Now, Mac and Yo-Yo, they're quickly becoming a very cute pair. Nothing outright romantic between them, just some hints. Obviously, there's a chemistry there, and they're fond of each other. But Yo-Yo, obviously having her super speed, is complaining about Mac moving very slowly. And obviously Mac's not done by the time Lincoln goes down the hallway. However, Yo-Yo finishes the contraption, and we find out it's the memory machine. They dismantled it, and they reconstructed it there in that hallway, which Coulson earlier in earlier in the episode mentioned how he has thousands of people's memories, and they were trying to outsmart all of those people, not just one person. And the memory machine basically brings forward all of those memories. Now, this is one of my favorite things about the episode because we knew that we were going to lose a character on the show. We knew it was going to be a huge character on the show, and basically with this, it gave the actor, Brett Dalton, who played Ward and is now playing Hive, it was a great nostalgia moment because he started to remember a lot of different things. Obviously, he remembered back in the second episode of season 1 where the entire group was trapped on a plane, and Sky had told him that one person doesn't need the entire solution. People need parts of the solution working together. So he's repeating that. He was repeating things when he talked to Sky about when he was captured at the beginning of season 2, telling her how he didn't want to lie to her again. Just going back through a lot of his greatest hits throughout the entire show. Obviously, there were other memories. There was memories from Will Daniels, the guy who Simmons was with on the planet. And obviously, there were memories of Gideon Malik's brother. I believe his name was Noah. So Hive's basically pretty messed up. he has all of these memories coming to the forefront. He can't necessarily remember everything. However, he does have the wherewithal to tell Gira and James to go and disconnect the warhead. May runs into Dr. Randolph and to two Inhumans, and another one sneaks up behind her, or not really sneaks, but gets a jump on her. So she's fighting them. Eventually, Dr. Randolph gets her gun and shoots one and asks her to take him with her. However, James and Gira are successful in removing the warhead. Now, she gets the hostages, and as they are escaping, or Yo-Yo gets the hostages, I should say, and as they're escaping, Hive is out in the open, and he says, "What did you do? What did you do to me?" Yo-Yo places the portable containment transportation device, and they capture Hive in the suspension jail that we had seen earlier in the season. Now, they bring him to the base. Mac has a heart-to-heart with Daisy. Now, the big thing in this episode, if you kept up, is when the mid-season premiere came on, and we saw that flash forward on the Quinjet, someone dying. The two things we saw that we can make out was Yo-Yo's cross and the insignia, the S.H.I.E.L.D. insignia on the shoulder of one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. jackets. Now, Yo-Yo in the previous episode gave Mac the cross. Mac had tried to give it back to her. She wouldn't accept it. When Mac went to go talk to Daisy, he took his jacket off with the cross inside of it. Now, we cut to Fitz and Simmons. They're there, and they're talking about Simmons is trying to keep a secret from Fitz. He's trying to surprise him by a trip for two to the Seychelles Islands. Cute moment with the two of them, and a big thing in these two episodes was who is gonna die. And we knew the cross and the insignia. So Fitz puts on the jacket, and the cross is inside of it in the pocket, which not in the jacket, but on the actual chair that he takes the jacket from. Simmons informs him it's Yo-Yo's. He says he'll give it to her, puts it in his pocket, goes to the hangar where they have Hive. Now, at this point, we see that Gira and James have activated something, which causes the substance to or be activated in the boxes, and it turns one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents into one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Inhumans. Now, this is the first moment where we see one of the characters in danger, the character being Fitz, and basically what these S.H.I.E.L.D. Inhumans are doing are dragging other people into the smoke to turn them. Pretty soon, about 5 or 6 people are turned. Fitz is able to get out of there just in time, along with one other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. But the primitive Inhumans, they release Hive, which was the plan because he can use the Zephyr 1, the new bus, to take the missile up to high altitude and explode it to disperse the substance into the atmosphere. Now, during this time, Dr. Randolph, he is obviously at the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and basically is explaining to them that he was under duress, even though, he was technically under duress, but he was still very happy to participate in these experiments to turn these humans into Inhumans. But basically, he's telling them different things about these Inhumans. They have peak adrenaline, they have adrenaline-based peak human strength. They're all connected to Hive. They don't have any actual thoughts of their own. However, they do have their previous skills, like weapon skills and tool skills, things like that. Which is bad because a lot of them, or all of them who were changed, are S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. So, the base is locked down at this point, and it's a mad dash to secure the armory. Mac and Yo-Yo go to secure the armory. They get there too late, and one of the Inhumans fires a assault rifle at Mac. Yo-Yo tries to catch all of the bullets. One hits her in the stomach. So the power is turned out in the base, and Coulson, Fitz, or no, Coulson, Lincoln, um, Dr. Randolph, and Mac and Yo-Yo are trapped in a room. Now, the reason why during the power is off mainly because Daisy, who is able to see that Hive is awoke, goes to confront him. And one of the most heartbreaking scenes is, again, they made it clear that it's like a drug, and Daisy's going through withdrawal. So she bets Hive to basically take her back, control her again. However, since Lash was the one to free her from the influence, to remove the substance from her, she's impervious to it. So they get into an awesome fight. One of my favorite, probably in the top 3 or 4 in the entire series. And, it's great because it's showcasing basically Daisy's acting on anger and rage. And she's using her powers to fight Hive. We see that Hive, he's still kind of out of it with all of the memories being brought to the surface. Ultimately, though, Daisy is incapacitated and put on in the containment unit on the Zephyr One. It's at this time, though, we see that Fitz and May snuck aboard the Zephyr One, which has taken off and is going higher and higher. The altitude is being risen, and Yo-Yo or Mac and Lincoln are able to save Yo-Yo by using a blowtorch to stop her, to seal up her wound. Then the second person on the main team is in danger at this point, and it's Simmons. She is separated, of course, with the power being out, and she's in the furnace, and she's hiding. And the Inhumans break down the door. However, they go to where she is, but they can't see her. And then it hits her that, they see through infrared. So with the heat being up, they can't see. So she cranks the heat up. And basically this leaves the Inhumans in the base harmless because they can't see. They get to Coulson's office, everybody, and Coulson uses the remote control Quinjet with his hand, and says he's basically going to take Yo-Yo to get medical attention, but he's going to get to stop Hive himself. So basically, May and Fitz, they take out one of the Inhumans. May has a heart-to-heart with Daisy, and tells her that she knows what she's going through. She did wrong, and the only thing she can do is try to balance the scales at this point. She's about to tell Daisy something very, saying how she doesn't say it all the time, but basically the gist of it being she really cares about her. But she's knocked out by Guerra, and he takes one of the weapons, an assault rifle, away from Fitz. However, Fitz, being the complete awesome person he's been since shortly into season 2, I don't know, before that actually, he has a cloaked gun and kills Guerra. And they let Sky out, and Sky's basically back with them, saying she's going to do what she can to help them stop Hive. Not that she wouldn't, but she was just doubting herself and saying she was a liability. But they're going higher and higher, so it's getting very cold, and she's already going through withdrawal system, so she's shaking at this point. So Fitz gives the jacket with Yo-Yo's cross to Sky. Now, at this point, Coulson docks on the Zephyr One with the Quinjet, and Hive, goes to confront him. Now, a lot of things are awesome in this scene. It's a talk with Coulson and Hive, or Coulson and Ward, if you want to look at it that way. And Coulson says that he started this by hunting Ward down and killing him, which is what brought Hive. Now, Hive reveals his true self, which we only saw the back of his head with the tentacles, but we see his face. And Hive is saying he can take over Coulson's body and trick everyone into thinking that the threat is contained, but it'll actually be Coulson. However, it's really a hologram of Coulson, and it's revealed that everyone refused to stay behind. And we see a shot of everyone, and they're all wearing the jackets. Simmons is wearing a jacket, Lincoln's wearing a jacket, Mac is wearing a jacket, and Coulson is wearing a jacket. And obviously, there's a very hilarious scene after High finds out it's a hologram where Coulson, channeling his best Princess Leia, leans and says, "I've always wanted to do this. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." As a nerd, that was one of the most awesome moments ever. Continuing an awesome moment from Civil War with Spider-Man talking about the really, really old movie Empire Strikes Back, and they taking out Giant Man, like Luke took out the AT-ATs or AT-ATs on Hoth. Great, great scene. So basically, everyone's reunited. Lincoln gets into a fight with James or Hellfire, and he's incapacitated by May. However, he used his power to cause something, I'm not sure what it was, that was attached to Lincoln's jacket to explode. So Lincoln's hurt. He has to remain very still. They give him some emergency medical help. And so he and Sky have a moment together where he's saying how the reason why he didn't come see her wasn't because he resented her, was disappointed. He was an addict. He was an alcoholic. He knew how it was. She had to pull herself together. And he also knew, he was able to know that she went to go confront Hive, not to fight him, but so he would take her back, which is a very great scene and very different for the show. It was a lot darker, but this wasn't the 10 o'clock hour of the show. And so basically, Daisy, prior to this, found the cross in her pocket, and she remembered the visions she saw. So she was prepared to die. She knew what Coulson was planning, to remote pilot the Quinjet to space with a warhead in it so that it would explode in space. However, she disclosed all of this to Lincoln, and he knew what she was trying to do. So as Coulson was explaining the plan and saying that one person would have to go and put the warhead in the Quinjet, the rest would have to stay, we got an official look at the shotgun axe. They actually did it. Something they set up in the first episode of the season, which we got a small payoff with, earlier, but we really got the payoff. It was actually there. And we find out that Daisy has left to go and put the warhead on the Quinjet. So everyone's fighting the primitive Inhumans, and it's a great scene because it's everyone fighting. Coulson fighting May, Mac using the shotgun axe, and Fitz and Simmons, specifically Simmons with that crowbar, beating these primitive Inhumans. They finally incapacitate all of the primitive Inhumans, but notice that Hive has gone after Daisy. So here's where we get the showdown between Hive and Daisy. She's put the warhead on the Quinjet, and she is closing the door. Now, obviously, Hive, having Ward's memories, was able to he's able to shut down the manual controls. And he mentioned that he was led to her because he smelled her blood. However, she was not bleeding. Daisy notices the blood on the floor, and we see Lincoln in the pilot's seat. He uses his electricity to knock Sky off the Quinjet, but not before explaining that he had to show up there because he was able to short the manual controls. Daisy's knocked off the Quinjet, and Lincoln is able to basically blast off the Quinjet, and it makes its descent towards space with the warhead and him inside of it. Him and Daisy have a very touching conversation about how he can't do this. She was supposed to be the one to die to atone for her mistakes. How she's the one who saw the future. This is her destiny. But she notices she doesn't have the cross anymore. Lincoln took the cross from her. So everything basically is turning out the way that she saw. However, she wasn't the one. And one thing that has been made clear in this season is that every Inhuman is made for a purpose. They have a purpose. We found out that Lash's purpose, which we thought Lash's purpose was to kill Hive, was to basically save Daisy and to get her from under Hive's control. Lincoln mentioned that he was the only one who could short out the manual controls to make sure that the plan worked, so that was his destiny. So basically, it's a very emotional moment, and he tells her that he loves her, but the communications are lost. Um, Meanwhile, in space, Lincoln tells Hive that he can sway him if he wants, but there's no way that he can stop the Quinjet at this point. Which Hive says, he knows, and he accepts it. Now, here is why this is a huge payoff. Now, the marketing for this episode has clearly been pushing that someone that we've known, and one of the actual ads shows them from the first episode. It shows Vincent Simmons, Ward, Coulson. It shows everyone from the first episode. Now, here's why it's a payoff, because we did lose a S.H.I.E.L.D. member. That S.H.I.E.L.D. member being Lincoln. And it could have been, oh, no one really cares about Lincoln. We only met him towards the end of the second season. However, Lincoln's arc this season has been great. We learned a lot about him. But the thing that makes his death so emotionally fulfilling is the moments he has with Hive, the last moments they have together. They're floating there in space. It's just two Inhumans. And all their differences seem to be gone. And Hive mentioned that they would share a connection because they will both be dying soon when the warhead explodes. And they're floating there. Lincoln mentions finally got to see the world, and the thing that sells it was Hive's performance, or Brett Dalton's performance. He says, "Beautiful, isn't it? Smaller than you think." He says he only wanted to make it better. To which Lincoln, honestly, in his mind, Lincoln knows that in Hive's mind he was trying to make the world better. He says, "I know." And he says that he wanted to feel a connection, which is something that was said a lot this episode, or these two episodes by Hive. And he says to Lincoln that you must know what it means to feel a connection. You're willing to sacrifice yourself for them with all their flaws. To which Lincoln says they're only human. Now, it hits home because we are losing the actor Brett Dalton on the show, and he was there from episode 1. Obviously, he was a traitor, but the performance he gave in this episode really drove home the emotional aspect of Lincoln sacrificing himself for everyone. He lets go of the cross, and then we get the actual shot mixed with Daisy crying, Simmons holding back tears. Very emotional. We get the scene where the camera pulls back, see the cross, we see the insignia on Lincoln's shoulder. Lincoln closes his eyes. And I like the fact they didn't do a huge explosion, that it showed it from the perspective of everyone else. They saw through the monitor, and Daisy's in a bad way. I mean, she was ready to die, and she wanted to because it was the only way she could reconcile what she had done. So Simmons asks the question, what now? Boom, we jump 6 months later. We see newspaper articles talking about earthquakes, knocking over banks, things like that. And we cut to the wife of the Inhuman who, when he touches someone, they see a person's death, and her daughter. And Sky's there. Now, Sky, she has an outfit made to, conceal her identity. Coulson and Mac are there looking for her. However, she's able to escape. Now, the big takeaway that's going into the fourth season, other than the fact that Sky has gone rogue, or Daisy, sorry, is that Coulson tells Mac to call the director, and that they're going to be reassigned somewhere. Huge takeaway, and we don't know exactly who the director is or what's going on. But in the last scene, we see Dr. Randolph in his lab, and he has the LMD files, and we see a body, and he's talking to his computer assistant called Ada. Not unlike Veronica, or Friday, I should say, from Civil War. And he says it's her birthday. We see that there is a body of some sort behind it's not a clear image of a body, but it's clear enough that you know what it is. And he says, today is your birthday. Now, LMD stands for Life Model Decoy, which has been used specifically in S.H.I.E.L.D. for years. Nick Fury has a lot of them that he sends out to do different tasks. So it's thought that the current Nick Fury is a life model decoy himself. So just goes to show that next season is going to be pretty great. And I can't wait to see what it is. But that's my recap. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 finale. And next season I will be doing a recap, of every single episode. But last thing I promised was to give my general thoughts on the other season finales. Legends of Tomorrow season finale, I actually enjoyed quite a bit. The show has been back and forth with me. I mean, there weren't a lot of great episodes for me. There were episodes that were passable, but my favorite episodes were the episode Left Behind, where Sarah, Ray, and Kendra were stuck in 1958 for 2 years. They were stuck in the past for 2 years. And basically, the episodes since you found out that Vandal Savage was working with the Time Masters. That whole lead up was great. Favorite character on the show has been Sarah, because she's had the most character development out of everyone from her time in Arrow. And then my second favorite was Captain Cold. Loved it, and thought it did a great job. The scene at the end, which basically just shows that the show has, in the next season, a lot to go with. Can't wait to see how it does now that, especially, Supergirl's moving over to the CW to join the lineup as well. Gotham. Gotham has moved into second place for me as far as these comic book shows. I mean, they did a lot with this season, and the best thing they did was they stepped away from conventions and shows to where you need one thing to last